This is an important video, I think, because this is something that I talked about months ago, actually, now at this point. It was the beginning of season 4 that I talked about this. And it's a very, very big problem with Call of Duty in general. Basically, Tactical Brit made a video saying that he got banned from matchmaking in Warzone for no reason. But that's not actually what's happening here. I'm sure he'll get into it. But what I said a couple months ago is that one of the biggest problems right now with Call of Duty is Marvel Rivals came out this year. If you boot up Marvel Rivals, I haven't played Marvel Rivals in months, but if I booted it up right now and pressed play, I would be in a game within 3 seconds. It was actually one of my biggest problems when we started up Delta Force. It took me like 3 minutes to just find how to get through the menus to press play. And then when I did, it was about another minute to get into a game. The problem with Call of Duty, whether I'm playing multiplayer or Warzone, as we're going to talk about here, I will boot up the game. I'll get into like the menus within a minute. And then the matchmaking will take like 2-3 minutes in multiplayer and 5 to 10 minutes in Warzone. And that's just too long. That 3 seconds immediately in another game is what keeps people playing for a long time. The Call of Duty seems to think engagement optimized matchmaking is what keeps people in the game for a long time. If they made it so that you immediately in another game, people would play for way longer. I guarantee it. So let's hear from Tactical Brit and see what he has to say.
18 minutes since I went live and we were matchmaking.
Wait.
18 minutes since I went live and we were matchmaking before that, and we just got into a game.
And he's looking for quads.
We've been queuing for over 25 minutes.
Game's gone. So this is what matchmaking for me currently looks like in Call of Duty Warzone.
So you may remember before they added in solo casuals, I did this exact same test with regular solos in Warzone, and it took me about 10 minutes per game to get into it. A solo game will take you like 20 minutes to play an entire game. So half of the time you're actually in the game, you're waiting in a lobby. That's a problem. That's a really big problem.
Early in the day or late in the evening, even sometimes at hours that potentially could be considered peak, I end up having matchmaking that lasts 5, 10, 15, or even at worst, over 20 minutes before
Insane.
Call of Duty Warzone finds me a lobby for the game. And at first I just wondered, okay, well, am I shadow banned? And I go,
so you're saying, JK, you're saying that you swear it's not more than 5 minutes. You're probably right for you. It appears to be a skill-based problem where the higher your skill level is, the longer the matchmaking will take. So because I have whatever my kill death is and get as many kills to deaths that I do, or whatever system they use, it takes me longer. And I guarantee there's people who try to queue into solos who take even longer than me. And Tactical Brit's a good player. He's playing with Benny Central, another YouTuber. They both have extremely high kill deaths. It's going to take them longer. So it's taking them 20 minutes as 2 people to get into a quads game, which is wild. It makes no sense.
go and check, I'm not shadow banned. Then I wondered, okay, am I permanently banned?
I've had
Go
this.
and check,
I did the same thing
not
as this.
permanently banned. I wondered, is there something wrong with my internet connection? Is my NAT type open? Perfectly fine. I even tried a second internet connection on a completely separate line into my house that absolutely had the same issue. Then I wondered, okay, is it the routers that I'm using? So I tried various different options of them, from Asus, Ubiquiti, and NetDuma. Nothing. VPNs, not enabled, no VPN present. Geofences, not enabled, no geofence present. Every single possible variable that could have any kind of impact on matchmaking in Call of Duty was not impacting it at all. There was nothing. The only difference between my account and other people's accounts in Warzone is my current KD, an elimination KD of around 5.0. So this tells me one of two things. Either something is wrong with Call of Duty's matchmaking system and something is broken, or how Call of Duty matchmaking is working right now is being handled in such a way that if you are a certain type of player, specifically a good player, you are no longer allowed to play the game. Or the game is basically going to stop you from
Deech, thank you for the raid, brother.
playing as much as it humanly can. So I decided to put this theory to the test, and I decided to do as much searching as I could to try and validate any kind of observation that I'm making here. Obviously, I don't have the data from Call of Duty, I don't have the backend, I don't have their servers, I have no information as to whether or not matchmaking is working in a way that they deem to be acceptable.
So the only obvious way to test this is to ask your community. Ask your community to go into game and try matchmaking and see how long it takes.
do have is a number of observations that point towards the conclusion that if you're a high KD in Call of Duty Warzone, you're pretty much being forced out of the game right now. So the first thing I did when I experienced this is I started to ask around and look around, and it's starting to happen to other people too. A streamer called Fireborn, who I know, simply cannot get into lobbies. He's even had an error pop up saying no lobby found.
That's wild.
Teep has had this issue, Face Crowder has had this issue, Benny Central has had this issue, and even a large number of players in my own community of high KD areas are finding that matchmaking is taking longer and longer and longer.
And that's exactly what I was saying, but that was with solos, and solos definitely has less players in it, but yeah, same sort of thing. And I was saying this at the beginning of season 4, by the way.
But some of them are starting to reach that point. One of them told me that they were playing at about 8 o'clock in the morning, which obviously is off-peak hours, but literally could not find a game. He tried to play the game before work, it wouldn't let him into a lobby, it wouldn't let him into a game, and he basically just had to give up. So I figured, you know, well, maybe it's something wrong with my account or my host or whatever. So the only other solution that I've had at this point in time is, well, what happens...
Actually, that's a really good point. He's on 2 milliseconds of ping. How is that even possible?
If I give this to a player who is a lower KD or below average, and how quickly do they find a lobby? And not to my surprise, but alarmingly so, somebody who is in my community, one of my moderators, who has a KD of around 0.6, found a duos lobby and a quads lobby in under 2 minutes. One of them even in as little as 30 seconds. So these lobbies do exist. Thousands of players are playing Warzone, if not
they're doing the Easter egg.
Call of Duty Warzone before Verdansk even released had 20 million plus monthly active users and was the most played game on PlayStation and Xbox, so the player count isn't a concern. And I started to wonder if...
Yeah, so it's a good point. I mean, technically you could argue, oh, maybe everyone's playing zombies, maybe everyone's playing multiplayer, but I don't think that's the case. I think probably the majority of people are still on Warzone, and with... You look at a given day, there's 40,000 people on Steam, which means there's probably at least 40,000 people on Battle.net, which probably means there's a couple 100,000 on PlayStation and Xbox. So you're looking at like 500,000 people at a given time on Call of Duty at a given time. So to say that there's no one playing is just wrong. It's not that.
Casuals was having an impact on this, but casuals also wasn't a concern because matchmaking into the regular playlists through other people in my community and using them as hosts clearly showed to me that these lobbies do exist, these lobbies are happening, there are hundreds of these lobbies available, and they are finding games with absolutely no issue whatsoever. So I wanted to eliminate even more variables. I wanted to eliminate my PC and my hardware ID as a variable. I wanted to eliminate...
Oh, he tested everything.
My IP address as a variable by using a second connection. So I decided to open up a version of Warzone on a PlayStation 5 with a brand new account.
I was going to say that's what he should do.
PlayStation account, using both my regular internet connection that my current account, which seemingly can't get into games, is using, and also using an alternative connection to my house that has no history of playing in Warzone.
So he's saying that he's using a different IP, so that if they take his IP and say, we know the person that plays at this IP address and he's good, he literally is testing everything brand new, but same internet connection.
On this brand new account on PlayStation 5 found games instantly. And even as I leveled up this account and bumped up its KD, it progressively carried on finding games with absolutely no problem whatsoever, with no issues, with nothing to be said. So either my account specifically has something wrong with it, and a couple of other streamers as well, Fireborn, for example, Teep.
It's almost as if something is wrong with... So Call of Duty has a thing called trusted accounts. So after you've played for a certain amount of time, like I've had my Call of Duty account since Modern Warfare 2019. So because I've had my account for so long, it's a trusted account. So if I started hacking on my account, I would actually last longer hacking than a newer account, because in the eyes of Call of Duty, I'm trusted, but it's as if they are taking these trusted accounts and making it hard for them to match. It's weird.
Crowder, Benny, for example, and even some of my community members, or there is something worse happening, and this is where my current conclusion is leading to. Right now, pretty much the only common denominator between all of our accounts is that we have a high elimination KD. We are quote-unquote high-skill players, we're players who are of a top 1% bracket, and we seemingly cannot find games. Now, there are a couple of exceptions to this, because there are some people I know, for example, Jaff, who has a very high elimination KD, who seemingly can find games quickly with no issues whatsoever.
Weird.
But for the rest of us, we have no shadow bans, we have no permanent bans, there is nothing on our accounts indicating that something is wrong, but we're effectively being excluded from the matchmaking pool in the game and being forced to wait for an extreme amount of time.
By the way, I also see this in multiplayer. Like, there's times when we are in multiplayer and I'm solo playing and it takes me 2-3 minutes to get into a game. And then I'll do an open lobby with you guys. And because we have a wider skill range of players, it will be nearly instantaneous. Or if we have a lobby where we have a bunch of really high skill players, sometimes that happens and then we just get stomped on the entire time. It will take longer. So I truly do believe it's a skill level thing versus matchmaking.
To find a lobby. So I can only assume that one of two things is occurring here. Either one, all of our accounts, due to our high elimination KD, have like seriously low trust scores, and whilst we aren't banned or permanently banned, we've effectively been stealth banned. Not a shadow ban, because a shadow ban actually shows on your account and says that you have limited matchmaking.
Okay,
but an entire different...
In all seriousness, I need to know how he has 3 ping.
Layer to this. A layer to this that's basically said, you're not banned, you're not shadow banned, but we also don't want you interacting with regular players, so we're going to change your matchmaking protocols, and you're going to get stuck in 15, 20-minute queues. And
okay, so what I want, if Tactical Brit ends up seeing this video, or I might even tweet at him, I want him to go in, and I want him to take 3 members of his community who have horrible kill deaths, play with them in a lobby, and see how fast his matchmaking is. Because I don't think he said he's tried that.
Into lobbies that I can only describe as diabolical. You can watch back our streams throughout the last couple of days, and whenever one of my mods wasn't hosting, every single thing was just a mess. Every lobby had cheaters in it. Every lobby had sweaty players in it. And I don't mind playing sweaty players. That's not an issue. But the fact that there were so many cheaters in between them is absolutely nuts. So that's one theory. The other theory is that it's just a blanket targeting of matchmaking for players above a certain elimination KD bracket, and essentially my theory being that either as a result of a trust score or as a result of us having a statistically high or good account, you basically just get removed from the player pool. Call of Duty Warzone is absolutely infested with cheaters right now. Like, it's losing a battle that it's been losing for the best part of 4 years now, and the reality is that it's not going to get better. The anti-cheat doesn't use secure boot, it doesn't use TPM, it doesn't really do much of anything that isn't AI or statistical analysis, and is essentially a glorified report system. They don't achieve anything, and that's just a fact. It's a brazen fact of Call of Duty, and I'm not saying it's easy, I'm not saying having an effective anti-cheat is easy. There are lots of other games functioning that are suffering with the exact same issue that Warzone's having, but what I will say is that Warzone has an exceptionally difficult task with it, because it just seemingly never gets better. And if you're Call of Duty and the current...
So, okay, I hate playing devil's advocate to this, like I really, really do, but I think this needs to be said. Here's the thing. Call of Duty is right now the biggest, aside from Fortnite, even with Fortnite, the biggest free-to-play battle royale game, which means there is going to be the most cheaters on it. And yes, they do a very bad job stopping that, thwarting it, or doing anything like that. They need to do better, and they're trying to. They're trying to go directly after from the source, and that's working. But there are things they can be doing. The 2 things that I think they can be doing is full IP bans and 2-factor authentication. It's mandatory on PC at least. And they don't do that. And I think those 2 immediately would make it better, because when people can just immediately get new accounts and they can literally buy hundreds of trusted accounts at a time just to hack, they're going to do it. And they're not stopping that. And yeah, Counter-Strike has a ton of cheaters. Great example, right? Fortnite has cheaters. Valorant has tons of cheaters. Every game does. And when it's a free-to-play game, there's going to be more.
The current situation is that your game is being absolutely overrun and overwhelmed with cheaters. You might start pulling out some systems that just try and keep the problem at bay. And they've done this before, at a point in time where at the start of Verdansk, if you got a 20+ kill game, you were almost effectively guaranteed to get instantly shadow banned. I got shadow banned, Jaff got shadow banned, A bunch of other people and creators and comp players all instantly got shadow banned exactly the same time. It was rescinded about 24 to 48 hours later, but it showed the kind of sensitivity that they had on the release of that game and just how worried they were about cheaters ruining people's experiences. And it seems to be that right now we're at another peak of cheating where hundreds and thousands of them are ruining and infesting lobbies. And the solution, by the looks of things, seems to be just completely changing how matchmaking works. If you have a medium to low trust score, don't play the game. That's completely on the table right now. That seems to be something that's happening. If you have a high KD, you could also be pushed into higher skill brackets. And what's fascinating about what I'm seeing right now is that this historically goes against everything Call of Duty has done, including an entire blog post where they said, quote unquote, ping is king. Now, in the past for Call of Duty, once you hit a certain number of seconds or minutes in matchmaking, they effectively relaxed the protocols for matchmaking so that you would actually get into a lobby. They have internal metrics at Call of Duty, like any other game developer, called time to fun or time to matchmake, etc., that they're trying to effectively target. They want you getting in and out of games.
I would love to know what Marvel's Rivals time to fun is. 4.2 seconds.
As fast as quickly as possible so that you continue playing the game, you continue having fun, and it keeps their retention up, and hopefully you end up enjoying it and buying more things. Now, that is a metric that they have and want to target for the majority of their player base. But that was then, and this is now, and what's fascinating about what I'm witnessing on my own account right now is that it never goes above 90 milliseconds of ping. It just sort of freezes at a certain ping number and then just makes me wait.
Mine goes up to 200. Am I the only one that mine goes up to 200?
I cancel matchmaking and rematchmake, it hits the exact same number and just
I haven't
waits.
played in a while, but...
And this protocol where it's supposed to start relaxing the metrics to allow me into a game because it's taken far too long to find me a match doesn't kick in. It doesn't happen.
I agree with what he's saying right now, though.
It just carries on looking and looking and looking until it reaches a very specific formula of what it feels I should be playing. And sometimes that can be 5 minutes, sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's over 20 minutes until that's matched. So the only logical conclusion that I can draw right now is that a large number of us have low trust scores on our accounts because we have high KDs. And as a result of that, Call of Duty's solution to keeping cheaters out of the matchmaking pool is taking us very same players who are of a high skill bracket, subjecting us to an entirely different matchmaking system that stops us from mingling and meddling with regular players. And then because of that, we basically can't get into games, including at certain hours of the day where things are off-peak. It's basically impossible. And even when peak hours hit, it still takes an inordinate amount of time. Casual gaming doesn't have any impact on this. The casual modes don't have any impact because regular people...
I would say my time to get into casual is like 1 to 2 minutes.
Regular KDs are still finding regular lobbies in modes without AI. So that's completely off the table. There's no shadow bans, so that's off the table. There's no permanent bans, so that's off the table. There's no geofences, VPNs, or any weird internet trickery that's happening, so that's off the table. So the only last metrics are a trust score that are completely unbeknownst to me as an individual, because I don't have access to that information, or my KD, or a combination of the two. And obviously these are just observations, and I've had lots of observations from other people, but essentially what it reads to me is that if you're good at Call of Duty, stop playing the game. Or don't try, essentially. It seems to be that their solution right now...
But that's kind of been the solution for a while with skill-based matchmaking.
Their cheating situation, or their solution for trying to stop cheaters from getting into the game, is basically just to shaft us with the worst possible matchmaking humanly possible, and just not let us play. That seems to be the solution. Unless something is objectively broken, which at this moment in time there has been no...
Well, here's the thing. If you're a good enough player... when you kill someone, they're just going to say you're cheating anyway, right? Because nobody trusts Call of Duty at this point. So you see a really good player, he snipes you from across the map. You're like, oh, he's cheating. So then why wouldn't Call of Duty just put you in the matchmaking the same as the cheaters anyway? Because that's what they're going to end up doing, because that's the way they're skill-based matchmaking. He's on to something here.
Statement, no blog post, no tweet from Call of Duty.
They're not going to say anything about this.
It seems to be that if you are good enough at Call of Duty that you might be considered suspicious, you essentially are going to be removed from playing the game. Or they're going to make it as difficult as possible for you to play the game, and you can only play it at peak hours. And when you get into those lobbies, they are going to be the sweatiest, most cheater-infested lobbies that you have ever played. And the things that validate these findings to me is that I literally created a new account, loaded up on my PlayStation 5, instantly started playing Warzone with basically no issues, no matchmaking trouble, the exact same internet connection, the exact same IP address. Like, no other variables were present except for the fact that the account just wasn't that good at the game. But my account, at the exact same time of day, was taking over 10 to 15 minutes to find a match. Like, I really don't know what's going on at this point. And honestly,
I think you do.
I'm not even talking about the stuff that's uniquely to me, a streamer. Like, uniquely as me, a streamer, I've had to deal with stream sniping, rage hackers stream sniping me. I've had to deal with all sorts of other random stuff. And I'm not asking for preferential treatment. All I'm saying is that just by the basis of things, for everybody in the player base, if you seem to do too well at the game, and if you reach a certain skill bracket, and then the game deems that your account might be suspicious, they won't shadow ban you, they won't ban you, they're just going to leave you in this weird void where you can't play the game. And honestly, it's been really frustrating. I like Call of Duty.
It's so weird, though. It's so weird because I remember I saw him tweet something out about this, and I said something very similar when solo casuals was put in. But the reason why I said it was because I'm like, the solo playlist just needs to be deleted. It takes me 10 minutes to get into a game of it. And I assumed it was just chalked up to the lack of people playing the solo playlist. But now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't the solo playlist that was the issue. It was my account. And because I was playing solo on a higher kill death, it probably just immediately put me into whatever matchmaking bracket he's explaining, and it would take longer. So I'm wondering if I would have taken an account at the exact same time, beginning of season 4, and tried the same thing, if I would have gotten into a solo game almost immediately.
You know, I really enjoy Warzone, and this is a game that has effectively made my career in terms of streaming. So right now, I'm either at an impasse where I either say something and be vocal about this problem and situation, possibly risking any kind of work with Call of Duty, or I say absolutely nothing and I basically can't do much.
Dude, I will tell you right now, you can talk so much shit about Call of Duty. As long as you are a genuine person, they are not going to not invite you or send you out to things. I've almost never seen that.
A job. So
and like, trust me, I said it before, I'll say it again. The first time I got invited to a Call of Duty event, I literally made a video titled "Fuck You, Activision," and they like literally that day they invited me out to a Call of Duty Infinite Warfare event, and I literally thought they were like sending me like a cease and desist letter when I got the email.
I had my hands completely tied by this situation, and it's not just me. It's happening to other people, and it's also happening to other creators, some of which aren't being vocal about it because they don't want to cause problems at the risk of them not getting opportunities themselves.
That's silly.
But for me personally, I already know I'm not going to be playing COD later this year. Battlefield and Arc Raiders are a priority for my channel.
Yeah, I'm excited for Arc Raiders.
But the fact that this is kind of how this situation's unfolding for me is just insane. And I really hope it gets some visibility. I really hope they fix their matchmaking. Because at the moment, there's a very real reality that a large number of players, including myself, are basically just being told not to play. In the comment section down below, I really want to know what your experience has been. What is your KD in Call of Duty Warzone, and what is your matchmaking experience right now? How long does it take you to find games, and how long does it take you to find games at different hours of the day? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm really curious to see what's been happening with you guys, and I'll catch you again in the next one.
Interesting experience with that. Like I said, I've seen things very, very similar to that, even going back to the beginning of season 4. And this is something that I've said, and nobody's actually listened to me when I said it. I said is a big issue since Marvel Rivals came out. Since I played Marvel Rivals and I saw like the 3-second matchmaking. And by the way, the thing that I talked about T-Dog with having casual or bots in multiplayer, he might be right. It may very well become a thing to get that time to fun to be even quicker. If you can matchmake into a 12-person lobby, but you only need to matchmake 6 people with a similar kill-death ratio, that's a lot easier than having to get 12 or having to get 150. If you can just get 20 for casuals, it's a lot easier, right? So that time to fun number has been a very large problem. And if they just got rid of skill-based matchmaking, it would be gone, but they don't. You have the largest player base out of almost every single game, and you have one of the longest matchmaking times. Why is that? Skill-based matchmaking, period.